Okay, so hello class. This is the last recording for our third module, which will cover the three different types of psychomotor domain. Because when Bloom and his company or his colleagues made the different taxonomies, they were able to make the cognitive taxonomy, which is Bloom's taxonomy of learning, and then the affective domain, which is Krathwohl's affective domain. Okay, or affective learning domain. However, they were not able to make a psychomotor domain of learning. So in that regard, meron pong tatlo na practitioners ng education that has suggested different taxonomies when we relate to the psychomotor domain. Okay? So first, we're going to talk about Simpson's taxonomy. Okay, so according to Golzer in 2021, this psychomotor domain focuses on the utilization and coordination of motor skills, which begins from observing to inventing new motor skills. Okay, sabi ni Golzer, ito daw ang best taxonomy na pwede natin gamitin if we want to develop young learners or if we are exposing adults or older learners into new environments. Okay, so again, this one is more focused on the coordination of motor skills rather than the skills themselves. Okay, so Golzer further added that Simpson's psychomotor domain includes physical movement, coordination, and use of motor skills. So ibig sabihin, as a teacher, okay, whenever you assess psychomotor domains, which is usually rare namang ginagawa, okay, sa PE ito madalas nagpapakita ang mga very heavy sa assessment ng psychomotor domain. On other subjects that are more focused on the cognitive domain, usually the psychomotor domain is only secondary. Okay, we only look at it if it if it interferes with the student's ability to demonstrate their learning. But in case we need to assess them, the psychomotor domain, sabi ni Golzer, we can assess them in terms of speed, precision, distance, procedure, and techniques in execution. Okay? So, ibang mga task na hinahandle ng psychomotor domain would be interpretative dancing, carrying heavy materials, etc., etc. Okay? So, the psychomotor domain actually consists of 7 particular levels, which starts from perception, which is the lowest level, and then ang pinakamataas would be your origination. Okay, so here are the levels first, the keywords for the verbs, and examples of learning outcomes as given by Golzer in 2021. So the first stage is awareness or perception. Sabi dito, this is the ability to use sensory cues to guide motor activity. So dito, pinaka nangingibabaw ang sensory stimulation and ma-instill yung awareness sa learners. Dito ka kumukuha ng procedural knowledge just by observing others. Some keywords includes detects, identifies, isolates, relates, etc., etc. And the examples of learning outcomes would be detect nonverbal communication, estimate where a ball will land, adjust heat of stove to correct temperature. Okay, so all of those things require visual stimulation, and as you can see, very minimal at actually halos minsan wala ngang response na gagawin yung learners in terms of a physical response. Okay, pangalawa would be your mindset or set. This refers to the readiness to act. Readiness in the physical way, the mental way, and emotional way that allows you to respond to the situation. Kung ikaw ka na ito sa affective domain, ang sabi ni Golzer is that this is connected to the responding level in the affective domain. Ang mga keywords dito ay demonstrate, proceeds, reacts, explains, etc., etc. Number 1 is to show desire. Number 2 would be to recognize one's abilities and limitation. Okay? So, after niya na-observe, iniisip niya na, ina-assess niya na yung sarili niya kung kaya niya bang i-replicate yung nakita niyang ginawa. Okay? So, that is under readiness and knows and acts upon a sequence of steps in a manufacturing process. Okay? So, una, knows and acts. Meaning, That when you do this, you are preparing. Kasi, tinitignan mo yung steps ng manufacturing process. Okay? The third level is guided response. This is the early stage of learning a complex skill, which includes imitation, trial and error, and any other attempts at a physical skill. Ang bata kaya na makagawa ng mga steps dito, ng mga skills dito. However, kailangan meron pa rin siyang proper directions. Okay? The keywords includes copies, traces, follows. Okay? As you can see here, lahat sila merong sinusundan. However, they are already performing the skill. Sa set, nagpre-prepare pa lang sila. Very minimal yung action na ginagawa. Karamihan, puro pa rin knowledge, preparing your knowledge. Pero dito sa guided response, nagsisimula na paunti-unti ang action with a guide or model na pina-follow nila. Okay? So, after ka ng guided response, pwede ka na sa mechanism or sa basic proficiency. Sabi dito, this is the intermediate stage of learning a complex skills. You can now use your learned responses into habitual actions. So, meron ng medium level of proficiency, assurance, and confidence. So, ito yung medyo nasasanay na yung iyong katawan. Unti-unti nang nagiging habit pero hindi pa nagiging expert. Okay? Some keywords here includes assembles, dismantles, fixes, grinds, measures, organizes, etc. etc. So, ang example nun is paggamit ng personal computer. Okay? So, sa paggamit ng personal computer, medyo madali lang naman yung typing. Okay? Pag first time mo makahawak ng keyboard, okay, first time natin makahawak ng QWERTY na keyboard, okay, medyo naninibago pa tayo sa arrangement ng letters. But as we practice it over and over, our hands somehow memorize kung saan napupunta yung mga letters, okay? So, ito yung parang muscle memory na siya, okay? Refers a leaking faucet and drives a car. That are the examples of mechanism. So, after mechanism, pwede ka nang maging expert. You will now demonstrate complex overt response. Okay? This is basically the ability to skillfully perform the movements that you have learned. Okay? So, the idea here is that when you are starting, marami ka pang wasted movement. Okay? Sa guided response, napakarami pang wasted movements. Okay? However, when you become expert, okay, mas na-manage mo na yung movements, leading to you being able to do something with more endurance, with more strength, or speed. Okay? This category includes automatic and highly coordinated performance. Okay? So, the coordination as well as the wasted effort is highly proficient na. Okay? Wala nang gaanong wasted effort. Very okay na yung movement ng kamay, ng paa, ng buong katawan. Okay? So, some keywords are basically the same with mechanism, pero gumagamit ka na ng mga adjectives or adverbs that show a higher level of performance. So, more accurate, faster, stronger, more efficient. Okay? Yun po yung mga ginagamit na adjectives na dinadagdag sa mechanism. Okay, examples here are maneuvers a car into a tight parallel parking spot. Okay, so kanina drive sa car lang, pero ngayon, namamaneuver niya na sa mga very small parking spots. Okay, so kanina, marunong lang mag-computer, ngayon, mabilis na po siyang mag-computer. Okay, kung sa mechanism, okay, nag-fiddle around lang siya ng piano, hindi alam yung pipindutin susunod or naliligaw pa yung mga daliri sa pipindutin. Pag expert ka na, pag meron ka ng complex overt response, you can now play the piano faster, more accurate, and of course, more melodic. Okay? And then you have adaptation. Ang sabi ng adaptation, this is the ability to modify learned skills. So, pag magaling ka na sa bagong skill, okay, you can now edit it. You can now modify it para magamit mo rin sa ibang mga areas. Okay? So, yung driving a car, minsan, yung mga steering wheel, okay, mabibigat pa yan. Pag nasanay ka na, nasasanay na yung kamay mo na mag-handle na mabibigat. So, you can move on to other more strenuous activities. Okay? So, for example, pag nasasanay ka lagi nagbubuhat na mabibigat, chances are, mas lumalakas yung iyong arm strength. And magagamit mo yun hindi lang sa pagbubuhat. So, some keywords here are adapts, alters, changes. Almost every keyword dito focuses on changing what you have expertly learned. That is adaptation. So examples of the learning outcomes would be responding effectively to unexpected experiences, modifies instructions, perform a task that is not originally intended to be done. Okay, so all of this adaptation. And finally, the highest level is origination. This is the ability to create entirely new movements for a special situation or problem. Okay, so dito, mga creative thinking na yung gagamitin. Okay, so it's not just the expertise of the psychomotor, but also an avenue for creativity na siya. Okay, something that's entirely new outside of adaptation. So the keywords here are arranges, builds, combines, composes, constructs, etc., etc. And here are the examples. You're able to create a new exercise routine. You're able to create a new symphony, a song, okay, a new strumming pattern, okay, all of those things creating something new. Okay, so that is the 7 steps for Simpson's psychomotor domain. Okay, perception would be your awareness, your visual stimulation for a particular action. Set or perception, set or mindset, okay, this is when you prepare yourself for doing the action. Okay? Number 3 would be guided response. This is when you only begin to do the skills that you have watched. Kailangan meron kang guide or sinusundan na model dito. Next would be mechanism, the intermediate level of the action. You are now able to perform the skill without a model, although hindi ka pa sobrang perfect when it comes to doing it. Okay? Usually, unti-unting nasasanay dito yung iyong muscle memory. Okay? And after that, meron kang complex overt response, which is the expert level. Dito, very skillful ka na. Minimal ang wasted movement and high levels of coordination. Okay, pero sa ganung context pa rin, yung skill na tinitignan mo, ganun at ganun pa rin yung ginagawa mo, pero masterfully na, expertly na. When you move this skill outside of its intended usage, you are doing adaptation. And when you are doing something entirely new, that is origination. Okay, so that is basically Simpson's psychomotor domain. Okay, ito yung pinakamarami, okay, na steps when it comes to the psychomotor domain. And then again, ginagamit po siya when you are focusing on the coordination of movement, okay, and the creativity of the movement. Okay, next we move on to Haro. Sabi dito, the Haro's psychomotor domain anchors on physical fitness, dexterity, agility, and body control to achieve sophisticated and expert skill level. Meron pa rin siyang coordination dito, pero nagfo-focus, kasama niyang tinitignan yung mga involuntary responses natin and yung learned capabilities. Kanina kasi, puro mga deliberate response yon kay Simpson. Kay Haro, dinagdag niya yung mga involuntary responses. Okay? This is based on the degree of coordination, including both involuntary and voluntary responses. So, nag-i-start ka sa mga simple reflexes, and then as you go up the hierarchy, okay, mas nagiging complex and highly expressive yung iyong movement na meron ng kasamang coordination and precision. What this means is mas nagiging tino na yung mga responses mo. Hindi na lang siya biglang reflex, kundi iniisip na. Okay? So since hierarchy din ito, of course, along with all the other taxonomies here, you start with the most basic step. And then you have to master it first before you go up. Lahat naman po ng taxonomy na pinag-usapan natin for Module 3, lahat po yun ay hierarchical. Okay? So, This is also most useful for physical education teachers. Okay, where the third level na pag-uusapan natin mamaya is best used as a battery for testing the perceptive abilities of pupils, diagnosing difficulties, and proposing remedial exercises. Okay, so here are the levels. Okay, class, medyo nakakaligaw yung ginawa ni Gozar kasi kanina nilagay niya sa pinakababa yung pinaka-basic. Pero ngayon, okay, ang reflex movement po, yan po yung pinaka-basic. Okay? So, ang movement po dito sa figure na to, you start on the topmost, you start with reflex, yung pinaka-basic, and then non-discursive communication, yung pinaka-complex, pinaka-highest level dito kay Arrow. Okay? So, start na tayo sa reflex movement or yung involuntary movement. These are movements with automatic reaction in response to a stimuli. There is no learning involved here. Okay? So, kung ano lang yung naibigay sa'yo ng iyong natural instincts. Okay? For example, pag na tinouch ka sa shoulder mo, di ba? Usually, minsan titingin ka. Or, you move your shoulder. Okay? Or minsan, pag nahihikaw ka, nagpapatakip tayo, although medyo learned response yata yun. Okay? This is very common sa mga bata. If you play around with infants, okay, pag nilapit niyo yung daliri niya sa kanyang open palms, automatic niya i-close yan. Okay? Pag tinouch niya ka sa cheek, titingin siya doon sa direction na pinag-touchan mo. Okay? Mga reflexes yon because they are involuntary. Okay? And then you have fundamental movements. Fundamental movements are a combination of reflex movement and basic movements. Okay? This is also the basis for more complex movements. Okay? So dito, meron ka ng low level ng voluntary movement. So for example, ang mga keywords dito ay to crawl, to creep, to walk, to jump. All of those things are fundamental in our daily lives. And they are also voluntary, di ba? Pag naiuuhaw tayo, dapat isipin natin hindi naman isipin. Dapat kailangan nating voluntary na igalaw yung paa natin para makakuha tayo ng tubig. And walking is a fundamental movement. So, ang mga learners in this level, makikita mo, they can change location. They can move from one place to another. Okay? And of course, naigagalaw na nila yung buong katawan nila. Okay? So, those are fundamental movements. Next, you have perceptual abilities. This refers to interpretation of various stimuli, whether it be visual, auditory, kinesthetic, or tactile stimuli. And then, after nakuha mo yung stimuli, you adjust to those stimuli. This entails cognitive as well as psychomotor behavior. Okay? This is also where the students have a coordinated movement or response to stimulus. Some keywords includes to catch, to eat, to write, to balance, to draw from memory, to distinguish, to explore. Okay? So all of those things require an external stimuli so that you can respond to them. Okay? For example, okay, tinatawag tayo ng parents natin, di ba? The stimuli there is auditory. So, we look. Di ba? After we look, we assess. Okay? Kung pupuntahan ba natin or hindi. Minsan, pag may sumisigaw, tinitingnan natin, tayo ba yung sinisigawan? Okay? We discriminate whether this stimuli is worth responding to or not. So, at this level, the student should be able to discriminate information. Okay? Discriminate meaning they should be able to identify which information are actually referring to them, which information are actually worth responding to. Okay? And of course, dito rin na pagsasama-sama lahat ng mga senses mo. Okay? So, pag narinig mo ang pangalan mo, tinatawag, i-confirm mo with visual stimuli. Diba? After mo na-confirm with visual stimuli, saka ka na tatayo. All of those are stimuli. Okay? And finally, you have class of stimuli pala. These are basically any information that you receive. Okay? Yun po ang definition ng stimuli. Baka nakalimutan niyo ha. Okay? But let's move on to physical abilities. Physical abilities require endurance. Okay? Endurance, strength, vigor, and agility, which produces a sound, efficiently functioning body. Okay? Class, ang definition ng sound dito, hindi yung maingay Meaning, sound meaning, what do you call this? Functional. Okay? This may include activities of strenuous effort for a long period of time. So, the keywords here is to endure, to improve, to increase, to stop, to touch, to bend. Okay? So, dito po, sa ating PE, dito yung ginagawa natin yung mga exercises natin. Yung mga 1 kilometer run or walk, mga squats, okay? Yung pag-flex ng kamay sa likod. Actually, nahawakan ko pa naman yata ngayon. So, that's 1. Sa kabila, baka hindi ko na kaya. Aray. Ayan. So, nabot ko pa naman kahit pa paano. Okay? So, that's flexibility exercise. Dito tinetest lahat ng ating physical prowess. Okay? So, yung iba, baka malakas sa endurance, di ba? Yung iba, malakas bumuhat, yung iba, malakas sumipa. Okay, yung iba, mabilis yung reflection time. All of those are our physical abilities. Okay? The next, you have skilled movements. This is the result by acquiring efficiency when it comes to doing complex tasks. Okay? So, kapag nagkaroon ka na ng maayos na skill level, for example, yung mga dancers natin, they are now showing skilled movements kasi sanay na po sila doon. Yung mga pianists natin, musicians, mga runners, athletes, all of those show that they have skilled movements kasi they are very efficient na doon. Okay? For example, ito yung pagpupukpuk po ng hammer. Okay? Di ba? Ang pagpukpuk, kailangan mo tignan ng mabuti. Okay, yung iba sa atin, napupukpok pa yung daliri. Okay, ibig sabihin, pag nagagawa na natin yun efficiently, we now have skilled movements. Okay, so here are some examples of observable behavior, like changes sa basic body movement patterns, using tools in a skilled manner, etc., etc. Okay, and the highest level in the Haro psychomotor domain is non-discursive communication. This is a communication of bodily movements from posture to gesture, creative movements, facial expression, okay, etc., etc. What you need to show here is that, okay, you are able to use your body to perform non-verbal communication. Okay? Keywords includes to gesture, to stand, to dance, to perform, to play skillfully. Okay? Kasi ang ability mo dito, ang pinaka-goal mo sa non-discursive communication would be to show your skills to others. Okay? Whether it be for entertainment purposes, whether it be for communication purposes, etc., etc. Okay? So usually ito yung mga kailangan mo makita when you are a member of the performing arts, the drama club, the dance club. Sa atin dito, anong pangalan na? Kalatas ba yun? Sorry, I forgot. Okay? As you all may know, I am a very excellent dancer. Char, obviously not. Okay? So wala po ako dito sa non-discursive communication. Okay? So, but nonetheless, the main idea here when you are doing non-discursive communication is yun nga, communication. Okay? So those are the levels that are suggested by Haro psychomotor domain. You start from reflexes or involuntary responses, followed by fundamental movements, which focuses on the movements that are the basis for all complex movements, followed by perceptual abilities, which is your ability to distinguish between the stimuli na kailangan mong i-respondan or hindi. Physical abilities, which talks about your physical abilities like strength, endurance, agility, flexibility, reaction time, etc., etc. Okay, and after that, after you have trained your physical activities, you will now achieve skilled movements wherein you show high level of efficiency in doing tasks. Okay? So makikita inyo ito kanina doon sa nakasabayan niya na complex overt response kay Simpson. Kay Harrow, ang tawag doon ay skilled movements. And finally, you have non-discursive communication, which aims to use your movement to communicate. Okay, which includes your posture, gesture, and facial expression. Okay? And finally, we have Dave's psychomotor domain. Okay? So ito pong Dave's psychomotor domain, siya yung pinakamadalas na ginagamit because it utilizes physical movement, coordination, and use of motor areas. So pareho rin po yung assessment niya kagaya kay Simpson. Okay? The difference here is sa Dave is siya yung pinaka-konti yung mga stages. And mas madalas siyang ginagamit sa corporate environment rather than in the education environment. So this is basically Dave's psychomotor domain taxonomy. So it starts from imitation and then it moves up to naturalization. Okay? So, nakikita nyo rin dyan yung brief examples ni Dave's psychomotor domain. So let's go right at it. When you say imitation, this is the ability to learn and pattern your behavior after someone else. Okay? So, kanina, kay Simpson, meron kang perception, then meron kang set, and then meron kang guided response. Sa guided response ka manggagaya. However, kay Dave, simula pa lang, nanggagaya ka na agad. Okay? Imitation. Okay? The keywords here is attempt, copy, imitate, mimic, etc., etc. Diba? Isang stage pa lang, ginagaya niya na agad yung 3 steps ni Simpson. Okay? Yun ay kay Dave. Imitation. Next is manipulation. This allows you to perform certain tasks by memory or by following instruction. So, wala ka ng sinusunod na model dito. Ang sinusunod mo na lang would be your instruction. The learner performs the skill or produces the product in a recognizable fashion by following general instructions rather than observation. So dito, kahit instructions na lang ibigay mo, kahit hindi mo nabantayan ng one-on-one yung tinuturuan mo, kaya na nilang gawin if they are in the manipulation stage. The keywords here are act, build, execute, accomplish, etc., etc. Okay, so the examples of learning objectives, students should be able to build a model truck using the instruction manual. Pwede po iyon. Okay, so again, magagawa niya yung task with instruction. Sa imitation, kailangan niya may ginagaya na buo. Okay, then you have precision. When you talk about precision, this is the ability to perform tasks with some level of expertise without help from others. You are now able to perform independently and produce things with accuracy, proportion, and exactness. The performance becomes more refined. So dito na nabubuo yung iyong beginning, dito na nabubuo yung intermediate and expert skills mo. Okay? Kasi as long as you do a particular task, you become better and more efficient at doing it. Okay? The keywords includes achieve automatically, excel expertly, demonstrate skillfully. Okay? Perform. Examples of learning objective would be to demonstrate a task to a beginner. So, ikaw na yung nagtuturo dito. Work and rework something to adjust yung quality ng isang bagay. So, yun po ay under precision. Okay? Next, you have articulation. Articulation, this is basically katulad ng adoption kay Simpson. Kasi sabi dito, you should articulation focuses on adapting multiple actions to develop new methods in meeting certain scenarios or requirements. Ang pinag-uusapan dito would be you modify the skill, you combine it with others in a harmonic way or in a consistent way in order for you to address certain scenarios. So ang keywords dito would be adopt, construct, modify, alter, originate. Okay? So yun pa yung mga keywords. An example of learning objectives would be combine a series of skill, make something, di ba? Again, the main idea for articulation is connected with adaptation. Okay? Or origination naman sa kabila. Kay Harrow yata yan. Balikan nga natin. Okay. Hindi siya kay Harrow. Kay Simpson siya under sa adaptation. Ang origination pala yung pinakadulo. Okay? Anyway, let's move back to Dave. Kay Dave, ang pinakahuli at pinakataas na level would be naturalization. This is your ability to perform action in an automatic, intuitive, and unconscious way. Yung nagiging second nature mo na perfect na ng iyong muscle memory yung isang particular skill. Hindi mo na siya kailangan isipin voluntarily. Kadalasan, nagiging, yun nga, very natural na lang ng movement. So the keywords here would be to create, design, develop, invent, etc., etc. Okay? The learner, and when it comes to examples of learning objectives, the learner will be able to maneuver a car in a tight spot, operate a computer quickly and accurately, display competence while playing the piano. Okay? So all of these things, kung i-connect nyo kanina, okay, doon sa mechanism, ito na yung basically ito na yung precision skills. Okay? Kasi precision skills ni Harrow or di naman kaya kay Simpson, kaya parang babalik siya sa complex overt response, di ba? Doon kasi yung pinaka-highest skill. Ang kailangan mong intindihin sa naturalization, kay Simpson kasi, kahit expert ka na, meron ka pa ring mental exertion. Okay? Doon kay Harrow, kahit meron kang precise skills, meron pa ring mental exertion. Okay? Very voluntary and very conscious ka pa sa ginagawa mo. Pero dito kasi kay Dave, naturalization expert mo na siyang nagagawa and limited na lang yung consciousness mo on it. Limited mental resource na lang yung binabato mo. Okay? So, yun po yung pinaka-difference kay Dave at sa ibang levels ni Harrow at ni Simpson. Yung less mental exertion. Okay? So, basically, those are the three different types of the psychomotor domain of learning. Okay? We recall na kay Simpson is better used in the educational sector sa mga younger learners and sa mga learners na ma-expose sa bagong environment. Ang kay Harrow's, mas maganda siyang gamitin strictly for physical education subjects or sa mga younger learners when you are diagnosing their cognitive and physical responses to stimuli. At kay Dave, best po siyang ginagawa sa mga areas that require a person to do repetitive tasks such as in the corporate world or in the industrial world. Okay? So yun po yung iba-ibang advantages ng psychomotor domain. And that ends our recording for today. I hope you have learned something new from watching our recordings. And I hope to see you all in our next meetings. Bye!